Welcome back. I know we all want to go sailing, but I can't go until I've changed this bilge pump. So this one, as I can show you from last time, the armature and the magnet have stuck together and therefore the thing won't work anymore. So I've ordered another one, a different make from a company called As Soon As Possible Supplies on the internet. They said they'll have it here for 12 the next morning. There it is. What time is it? 10 to 12. That's pretty good service from anybody. Now to see if it'll fit where the old one was. Well, I measured it roughly before I ordered it, like you would do. The old one was mounted on a piece of wood. It actually fits a little bit better to the side of where the old one's mounted, but then I need to know whether the pipes will reach to it if I change the location. I had a difficult job of getting the old ends out of the pipe. I wrap a bit of cloth round it, kitchen cloth, whatever, and then I get a kettle with some hot water in and I pour it over the cloth. The idea of this is to warm the pipe up. I know you can use a hairdryer for this, but don't normally have a hairdryer on the boat, although I could probably do with one. So try not to scald my hand with red hot water and get it on the pipe and hold the pipe downwards so it doesn't run towards my hand. Leave it for a minute or two and the pipe softens up, and when the pipe softens up you can take the end off. These pipes can be quite brittle as they get older, so you have to be very careful with them unless you've got some spare pipe as well. Give it 60 seconds or so to let the heat soak into the pipe, and then it's more or less ready to have a go at. All you got to do is remove the rag and get a grip of the end somehow. These ends are for the old pump, so I won't be needing them. So I could damage them taking them out and it wouldn't matter. If you wanted to actually keep them, you would have to wrap the outside of the fitting so the plier didn't damage it in any way. Twisting the end in this kind of pipe, because it's a spiral, one way it tightens it up and the other way it loosens it, but not like you'd think like a thread. It works the opposite way. Once you've freed the ends from the pipe, you need to stick your finger in the pipe and have a feel round for any burrs or what have you. Get them out, make sure the pipe's clean. If the Jubilee clips have been over tightened on the old pipes, you might find that the actual spiral that runs around the pipe is damaged. You need to check for that. Then move on to the second pipe. You know the system now. Hold it slightly downhill, wrap it with a rag, get a kettle of boiling water and try and avoid your fingers. It's always easier when you get to the second pipe because you've just done it on the first one. Like anything else, you train yourself as you go along. This black end, if I wanted to keep it again, I would wrap it. I would wrap it normally with masking tape. I find is a good tape to protect against using grips on something. And then the firm grip is basically on the inside of the pipe. You're not grabbing it from the outside on both sides because that makes life quite awkward. Grab one of the pliers on the inside of the fitting and the other one on the outside of the fitting and you'll get a firm grip on it. Check again for burrs and damage. And I can see that looks like there's a little bit of damage on this one. One of the spirals looks like it's got a crack in it. Well, that could be a hole and potentially could be spraying water back in the bilge while trying to pump it out. But if it's on the other side, the suction side, it could allow the system to suck air as well. So you've got to check both sides and check them carefully. Okay, time for a dry run with the pump. I'm going to put it in this area here. As long as this line fits, which it does, it looks like it's got plenty of room. That one will pull a little bit, that's the outlet pipe. And the other one I'll be pushing against that's the inlet pipe. But I need to get rid of this old bracket first because I'm not using this wooden block that the old one was mounted to. I'm just going to go straight on the wood itself. I'm not sure why there was a wooden block to mount the other one. I'm going to start this mounting. It's got 3 screws to mount it by. 2 on a saddle bracket which goes round it and 1 on top to keep it steady. I'm going to just pick an old hole that's already in the wood off one of the screws from the previous bracket. At least it'll give me a starting point. So when I put it in, if all the hoses and everything look like they're going to work at that particular point, I'll put the other 2 screws in. Because it's a different mount altogether, I use a bradawl to stick the hole in for the screws. I can hold it in place for a moment while I grab the screw. But the advantage of putting the bradawl in there is because the self-tapping screws is you don't have to get them going. The bradawl's left a hole to get them going, and because you've used that while you're holding the pump in place, you get the hole exactly where you want it. Then just follow the same procedure for any of the holes left that need a screw sticking into them. We'll then be ready to move on to the plumbings and get the pipes fitted into the pump. Well, the pickup pipe went on straight forward and the clip went on, but on the opposite side they had a little bit of damage I'd noticed beforehand, and as you can see I can stick a screwdriver through that, so it's a definite hole. So all I'm going to do is take a sharp knife, and where the hole is I'm going to trim it off straight through the pipe. Now the rubber cuts quite easily, but when you get to the spiral's normally quite a hard plastic. So what I do is I give it a twist, a couple of turns with a twist, and then I go to a pair of side cutters and cut it off with a pair of side cutters. If you get to this point and it just snaps off straight away, then you want to consider replacing the pipe because the spiral has now gone brittle. And don't forget, just before you shove the pipe on, stick the Jubilee clip on the end of it, because it's a devil sometimes to open the Jubilee clip up when you've already stuck it on and you don't want to pull the pipe off again. That's just making work for yourself. The next bit I always think is the easiest part of the job. You've done your plumbings, you've mounted your pump, you've just got to put a couple of wires on now. Bilge pumps don't have many wires at all. The wiring should consist of 2 lives and 1 earth. An earth is just a negative side of the system. One of the lives should come directly from a float switch, which will be fused, and the other live will come directly from an override switch, which will be fused. And you will join them both together, the 2 lives, and then you'll put an additional fuse onto those 2 lives where they meet together, and then onto the pump. So it's a very quick and easy job to do. Then protect all the wires from the elements by fitting them into their trunking. If there's no trunking in place, you would consider using shrink wrap or at least silicone over the terminals to stop the environment creating corrosion and giving you bad connections. And then before you say you're complete, you must check around and make sure everything's neat in there. If you've got any straddling wires to anything else that have been dislodged from the job you're doing, put a P-bracket on them, use one of the old existing holes and stick a screw in them. And when it's tidy, it's not really likely to fail or get caught anywhere. My old pump had 4 small diaphragms in it, and when it worked quite smooth and a constant flow come out the back. This new pump has just got 1 large diaphragm in it, like a hand pump. So when this one works, it pumps like a hand pump, you know, like squish, 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 rather than just a continual pour. Right, when you've finished, or you think you've finished, you've got 1 more job to do. Have a quick look round, make sure everything looks neat, and then you've got the job of testing it. All pumps are easy to test. Just add water, one way or another. A couple of bowls full should lift the float switch, and if the float switch comes up, it should then put power to the pump. Nothing as yet, probably going to need another bowl full. Halfway through this bowl full, I hear it come to life. So I have a little look over the side to see what it looks like coming out, and it just looks like a man pumping away. Pump, 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 pump. And that's what you'd expect from a single diaphragm pump, I suppose. And there she is, not bouncing around, quite still, which is what you'd like to see. No squirts coming out anywhere, and you can actually see the water being sucked up through the last of it through the filter there. Filters are important. Check them, make sure they're clean all the time. Well, that's another job well done. So it's 1 off the list, and the list's growing every day at the moment. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Bilge pump fitted. Success.